Okay, welcome to lesson number 1 of the Blues Baritone Ukulele Solo course. And if you look in the description, you'll find the PDF for this one. And let's talk about this a little bit before we get down to it. If you took the Baritone Solo course, you already know the 5 patterns. They're just positioned differently on the neck. So you're already a step ahead because the patterns should be pretty familiar to you. We're just going to have to do a little bit of rearranging where they're at. And once you get it, you'll get it, and it'll be pretty easy. Now let me just say, if you haven't taken the solo course, this is not going to be enough. I think you're going to struggle with this because I'm going to skip over things that you should already know. So if you haven't taken the solo course, go back and take those, and I'll put a link to the first lesson in the description too. And while we're at it, this will be the only time this is going to be about 10 lessons, and this will be the only time that I really spend any time on it, but it's the buy me a coffee link where you can give me a tip, support this channel and these lessons. I give out complete lessons with all the PDFs, everything. They're free. I don't try to upsell anything. I've watched some other videos, and this is cool if people want to do it. That's their choice. Then I'll watch a video and they'll do some pretty cool stuff, and then they're like, if you want to learn more, well then hit this link. You go to their website and you're paying $57 in order to join up. And that's the path that they've went. I've made the choice to keep these lessons free so that more people can enjoy them. I know not everybody has the ways and means to be able to pay for lessons like this. Now that being said, I would appreciate it if you would support the lessons, because you can't get a music teacher for free. And what I'm doing is I am the music teacher for free, but the worker's worth his wage. So if you can afford to, please support the lessons for everybody. And because this isn't going to be the last one, we're going to do the blues course, and we're going to do many more. So there, I said it. I might mention it just briefly in the other lessons, but that's the gist of it there. Please support the lessons. Okay, if you have your sheet with you, take a look. And I'm only doing this in D again. All these lessons will be based on the key of D, and we'll be doing the exercises, the licks, everything in the key of D, because you know from doing the other lessons that you can just slide up to E, F, G and play it there. They all move up and down the neck, and we're not gonna spend a lot of time doing that. We already spent a lot of time inventing that wheel or talking about that wheel. Okay, so I'm going to grab my uke and I'm going to give you close-ups now. I'm going to do things a little bit different and give you a more close-up of the neck. So let's get to that, and let's start talking about pattern number 1 of the minor scale. All right, here we go. Okay, we're playing in the key of D. Now let me just say, you can play these minor, this minor pattern. Can play it over the major chord and it sounds okay, but where it really sounds good is over the 7th chord and the minor chord. And if you look at your sheet, you'll see that I have the way to form those chords on that sheet. And a great way to get used to this as we move along is to, if you're unfamiliar with the chords, is to hit them and hit the chord to get used to going between the chord and playing the pattern. Okay, so let's talk about the pattern. Pattern number 5 from the major scale, the solo course that we learned, is the pattern that you'll use. So if I'm in E, And that one is probably the one that's most people, myself included, don't play a lot. So starting here is good for us. So you play pattern 5, but you play it from the starting point of pattern 1 of the major scale. If you look at your sheet, you'll see what I'm talking about. So we know pattern 1. Of the major scale. Well, now for the minor scale, you start on that same root note, but you play pattern 5. So it's a pattern you already know, you're just starting it at a different place. When you played in the major scale, the root note, if we go to E for example, it was on the end of the pattern, the high side of the pattern. And then you'd play pattern 1 on the, it's on the low side. Pattern 5 was on the low side of the root, whereas now it's on the high side. So you've just shifted it up one, and I hope I'm not confusing you, and I'm trying to explain it the best I can so that you can wrap your mind around it. I guess another way to say it is pattern 1 of the major scale and pattern 1 of the minor scale, which is pattern 5 of the major scale, take up the same area of the neck. Okay, so if you know pattern 5, just start it at the root. And you're playing the minor scale, opposed to the major, which we learned. That was the major, and you can hear the difference. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to, just for a refresher, we're just going to play the major, and we're going to hit the root note, and then we're going to go to the D string, work our way down, and come back to the root. So it's going to sound like this. Okay, let's do it again. Hit the root, and then go to the top. And that should be an easy pattern for you to remember. We learned it a long time ago in lesson number 1 of the solo course. Now we're going to do the same thing, but we're going to use the minor scale. And this time we're going to hit the root, and then we're going to start high and go low, and then come back to high to the root. And it's going to sound like this. Whoops. Okay, again, real slow, go with me. Hit the root, and then to the high side, which just starts on the 5th fret. Do it again, hit the root. Again. One more time. And I hit a D 7th there, or you could hit the minor. Okay, and now let's do a quick exercise. This is going to take some time. Hopefully this pattern, you're trying to wrap your mind around it. You're trying to get your bearings here. Let's hit the D7. And then just hit from from the root, which is 3rd fret, to the 6th fret. Okay, hit the 7th. Hit the 7th. Hit it. Do it again. Now I added the 5th fret of the G string. You see there, I went from the 5th to the 2nd on the G string, back to the 5th, and then back to the root. And then if you went to G, which, you know, I'm messing with you a little bit. We won't go there. It would be the same pattern. It would be same everything. But let's just stick with D. You'll get the hang of it that when you go to G, you do the same pattern, but you just move it up the neck. But that you understand the concept. And is all I did there. I went off on a little tangent, but is all I did was I hit the chord and then I played within that pattern. So good exercise for you to do. And it'll help you learn the pattern, and it'll help you find little groovy little things that you enjoy doing. Okay, now you could do the same thing with the minor chord. And so there you go. So practice this week. Practice your new chords, your minor chords. And a good thing that you can do if you're trying to jump back and forth is you don't have to start strumming the chord until you get all of it done. If you just get back, so you can hit just those two to ring it out, and then when you get your index finger down, you know, get back and hit the whole thing. So you can give yourself time to get the whole chord. And that still will let you get to the new chord that you're trying to learn. Your 7th chord, your minor chords, and then your major chords. And you can play it over the major chord too. doesn't sound quite as good, but there would be a good exercise to go between the major and minor scales. Okay, before I go for this week, let's talk about a little lick that I did there in one of my, or two little licks that I did during one of those little times when I went off the chain. Okay, so it would start on, the lick is, you're on the 6th fret, you bend it up, and then you go to the 3rd and the 5th fret, play the 5th fret on the E string with your 2nd finger, because you're going to go right back to the 6th fret on the B string. And then you're going to end on the root, the D note. So, and I use these 2 fingers to bend that string up. And you do a long bend, and then you go 3, and it's just a quick little grab there. Okay. A nice little bluesy sounding lick, and it'll get your fingers used to bending. And then the second part of it is you go up to the G string on the 5th fret, a little bend, and so you're going to do a little bend, and then you're going to hit 3 on the B and E string, and then you're going to do another little grab on the 6th fret B string, and then end on that 5th fret G string. Okay, a nice little riff that you can add to your library. You don't have to hit that. You could resolve on the D if you wanted to. It's kind of nice to hit that 5th fret on the G string. It just has a nice sound to it. That's the blues. Okay, one more time real slow. Bend, full bend. 3, 5. Quick bend on the 6th fret, back to the root 3. 5th fret G string, and then to the 3rd fret on the B and E string. Then 6th fret, real quick grab on the B string, and then end it off with the 5th fret there on the G string. And when you get used to it, I didn't take that pause in between. That's pause. But you can, once you get it under your hand, you can turn it into one big lick. And not take that pause, and it just sounds better. Now you see, I've done the same thing both ways. It's just where I took the pause. Then you can play with that. I played the same notes, but I just mixed them up a little bit differently to create a whole different lick. Again, the same thing. So within that scale, you have just so many options of things and sounds and noises and combinations that you can do when you're playing. So, you know. Played it with a minor chord there, slowed it down and kind of gave it some of that saucy spaghetti stuff, you know what I'm talking about. Okay, so there you go. You got your first pattern Next week we're going to add to it a little bit, so we're not going to jump to a new pattern next week. We're just going to add a little flavor to the one we already know. So a couple licks for you, an exercise for you to do, you know. Okay, have fun with it, and if you have any questions, ask me, and I'll help you out. Okay, I'll see you next week. It's going to be not next Thursday because we're at New Year's. Happy New Year, by the way. We're going to go back to new lessons on Sundays. All right, I'll see you in a week or so. Until then, keep on playing.